What up? Real Fans Podcast back again, week 6. We're currently NFL, kind of doing it midweek after the Monday Night Football game. Usually we do it Sunday after dark before the Monday Night game, but we got the Monday Night game in. I'm your boy Gabe. That's my boy Julian over here. Julian, say what's up.
What's up, people? What's up, people? Yeah, coming out a day late today, but we're all good. We're all good. It don't matter. It's coming out all early, but me and Gabe, it gave us a little bit more time to analyze some of these games that happened this past week and, really think about what games we want to watch next week. But anyways, let's get into it. I'm going to start off with the news and injuries. So big news today. One thing that was a benefit for us waiting was Amari Cooper traded to the Buffalo Bills. This happened just a couple of hours ago before we hopped onto the show. So that's some pretty big news over there. I do want to mention, too, not as big a news, but Roy Robertson-Harris from the Jacksonville Jaguars traded to the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seahawks are getting another D tackle. And I would say that's the biggest in terms of trade news that happened. Now let's go into injury news. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a concussion. These are also notable injuries. I don't want to break down everybody because there's a lot, and sometimes you might not, I'm going to talk about the more notable ones. So next one being Patrick Surtain II, also had a concussion. Travis Etienne with a hamstring. Chris Olave with another concussion. Tyrann Mathieu had a forearm injury. And then I think, in my opinion, the biggest one, Aiden Hutchinson, broken leg. A broken tibia and fibia, I believe, both. So, yeah, Gabe, out of those, I guess, let's start off with the trades. Out of the trade, you can talk about the big one, obviously, which is Amari Cooper going to the Bills. Just give your quick thoughts of what you think about that.
I think it was absolutely a great trade. I think there were rumors that Amari Cooper could be traded. So I think it's fitting. The Bills obviously need help. This is their window. The Jets stink, as we saw on Monday night, and Dolphins stink, and the Patriots are nowhere to be found. So this is the Bills' window, and I found it like this is kind of expected. Like I expected it to get a big name, and Amari Cooper was it. But did you skip the Devontae Adams going to the Jets?
Oh. Well, I don't think that was confirmed as of right now. It's obviously rumored, unless you saw a confirmation right before we started the show.
No, Schefter was talking about it. I don't know if it's actual final, but Schefter tweeted out that it's going to be conditional. That right now it's conditional. Right now it's not confirmed, but pretty much when Schefter's putting it out there, it's close to getting done.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to happen. Usually, like you said, usually when Schefter's putting it out there, it's a good likelihood it's going to happen. Real quick with the Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills, I just want to say, as a fantasy owner of Amari Cooper, I am super hype right now to actually have him go to a quarterback who can throw the ball to him accurately. So I just got basically a new player in my books. But no, in general, this is a great move for both teams. I would say the Bills got a steal, in my opinion. They give the Browns a 7th-round pick in 2026, and the Bills acquire a 6th-round pick and Amari Cooper. So it looks like the Browns just really wanted to get him off the books for the most part, and now he's going to step into a place where I think he's quite easily going to be the number 1 wide receiver, it seems, because this is the Buffalo Bills team that was really lacking. And, this is a talented team, but there was some games, especially when I look into that Baltimore game, for example, where it just felt like he just had no one to go to. No one was creating separation. No one was making any space for them. So picking up somebody like Amari Cooper, while aged, I do think he's a really good asset and can be an instant starter and a number 1 receiver over there. And honestly, you didn't really give up much. You gave up a 7th-round pick. That's essentially nothing. Not very many people turn into anything with that. And then quickly with the Devontae Adams to New York Jets. If that does happen, that's going to be a scary thing. If you are a Bills fan and you're fighting into the AFC race, this is going to be a big pickup for the New York Jets to add alongside Garrett Wilson and Bryce Hall and Aaron Rodgers. This is going to make things really interesting. I'm curious to see how things go because also Robert Saleh is now fired for the New York Jets. So I don't know if this might be a thing of desperation and then it just doesn't work out, but I had a feeling that Devontae Adams was going to find a way to get out of that situation in general and also the Las Vegas Raiders want to try to get as much as they can because let's be real, this is pretty much a rebuild for them. They don't really have a true quarterback to take over the helm. And Devontae Adams isn't getting any younger, so you want to get what you can for him. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what I think about all that. But I do want to bring up. I want to get your opinion too, Gabe. I think, like I said, the biggest one is Aiden Hutchinson, broken leg. Like that is crazy. He's probably going to be out for the season, so that's really suck. That really sucks to hear. To me, he already had 7.5 sacks in 5 games. Absolutely monster. He was on track to be by far the defensive player of the year, in my opinion. But yeah, what'd you think about this loss?
It's absolutely huge. And by the way, I just want to make a quick note. If you hear some noise in the background, that's the Raiders reconstructing their team in the background. They're actually building the team outside of Julian's house. But no, absolutely, Aiden Hudson is absolutely huge. I think that team. He's one of the top defensive players in the league. I kind of looked at their stats. They're like top 3 and like stopping the rush. And he's absolutely the star player that they're going to miss out on. I saw a tweet today that said he had successful surgery on his leg, but obviously he had to be. They put a air boot on his leg, and he had to have surgery immediately. So, when you have a big bone like that, you want to take care of it. You don't want anything lingering. You don't want any bones sticking around, and you want to set it and get that done because it can be worse, right? You don't want to have like an Alex Smith situation where you have surgery in your leg and then some kind of bacteria that makes it even worse. Where they're like, "Oh, we might have to chop off this guy's leg." So. Absolutely devastating for Detroit Lions, who actually have a good team, and he's one of the superstars on that team, and generally like a good guy, from what I can see. So tough loss for them. I thought that was actually the biggest one. I would agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sucks too because this is definitely a team that's a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion. So to lose someone like that, like probably the best defensive player so far this year. I mean, guy's been an absolute.
He's up there.
It still haunts me to this day that the Jags didn't draft him number 1 overall. We took Trayvon Walker instead, but that's neither here or there. But let's move over to our game highlights. Games we want to highlight that we enjoyed this past weekend, and we want to bring to the audience's attention in case they missed it. But Gabe, I'll let you start it off first. Which game really stuck out to you?
Oh man, games that stuck out to me. See, I can go any which way. Where there's a couple games that I can talk about. I want to talk about the Bucs Saints. Let's talk about the Bucs Saints because that was one that we were looking for ahead last week. Were you able to watch that game? Can we get into Mayfield? Can we get into how my analysis of Mayfield?
So you got the exact same game as me. We overlapped on that one. So I'll let you take it off first, and I'll give you my thoughts.
Overall, I thought it was a fun game. Somehow it was more, it was a very entertaining game. I think Mayfield had a great opening drive. And that's one thing I noticed, like, especially like on first drives. I like watching first drives because it tells you like how prepared were the team coming in, right? Because you expect the first drive. Yeah, it set the tone. You expect it to be the best, right? You're going to get your best offense, best defense, and then, the coordinators are going to scheme around it. I thought it was a great opening drive for Mayfield. He was able to score with Godwin. I think there was some bad drops by the Saints. I think this was a game that Tyler Rattler was actually had to play in. So we got a first view of Tyler Rattler, and for him, man, he looked okay.
Spencer Rattler.
Spencer Rattler. Sorry. He looked okay in spots, man. It was like sometimes they would look good. He's like, oh, okay, this guy is doing all right. But by the time we get to the second half of that game, man, this kid, he looked like a kid. He looked like a young guy. I'm like, oh man, he's crumbling. The confidence is leaking. There was just a lot of swings in this game. Huge picks. I think Mayfield was able to throw like over 300 yards, but bad picks, bad turnovers in this game. And the Saints were able to throw it around. They had a guy Bub Means who was able, they were able to throw to different receivers. I think at one point, I think Olave got injured. I think he had to take off.
Olave got absolutely rocked. And I kind of feel bad for the kid because this was your number 1 wide receiver, and Spencer Rattler, you lose your best receiver in the beginning of the game. And so I hope he gets back okay because that hit was rough. And then obviously the Bucs took it down for a touchdown, fumble recovery touchdown. So. Yeah,
just kind of crazy swings heading down. I think the Saints at one point it was like 24-7 with the Saints and the Bucs were doing a 2-minute drill, and Mayfield had a ball deflected. It was able to get picked at the line. I think that was kind of a crazy turnover. See, you never see that a lot. It getting picked off immediately at the line. It getting blocked and picked off at the line. I meant to say. In that fourth quarter, they had some big runs. I thought the run game for the Bucks was pretty good. I think they had Irving was okay. But yeah, just bad tackling.
Sean Tucker, man.
Yeah.
Sean Tucker.
The Bucks had some bad tackling. They were going to the screen a lot to eat the clock. And then Tyler, excuse me, I keep saying Tyler. Spencer Rattler. It just kind of you just kind of look like a young QB, like a rookie. So overall, Mayfield, I think, like I said, he threw over 300 yards, but the turnovers were crazy.
I will give him this though. All the turnovers happened right at the end of the first half. So I'll say get my thoughts on this too, because Bucks started off super strong in the first quarter, which is something that's kind of a reoccurring thing for them, which is a good thing. Starting off the game strong, it just makes the rest of the game feel so much easier. And obviously, what kind of took a little bit of the wind out of the sails for the New Orleans Saints and Spencer Rattler was losing Chris Olave, because I would say that first half for Rattler, he actually looked pretty decent. There's he had a couple drives that he took down and he looked pretty good. But after those couple of drives, that's when he started to dip off and kind of lose, a little bit of that spark that he had in the beginning. But you know what? He's a rookie. It was his first game starting. Hopefully he can clean things up and be able to play a complete game, because he showed some talent for sure. He showed that he can play in this league. It's just a matter of trying to consistent. But one thing for sure is that the Saints defense and special teams, while look great in the first half, they looked absolutely awful in the second half, because that first half they got, I think, 2 picks. Well, like you said, they got the 3 picks. They had a good touchdown return, not a touchdown return, but a kickoff return that put them in good field position. But then after that, man, the Bucks just dominated, especially in the run and the air. I mean, like I said, Sean Tucker, this guy who came out of nowhere and is playing because of injury, third string running back. The dude, the way he ran he honestly reminded me of prime Fred Taylor, the way he ran with power and speed and shiftiness. I'm like, damn, who's this guy? So I'm curious to see how he plays as, while the running back room starts to get healthy over there in Tampa. That was a guy, like I said, he really surprised me. He ran with aggression and power, and he was fast. That guy looked like a complete running back. So I'm curious. This is his second year. So the Bucks might have found a gym. I mean, we'll see as time goes on how much more he plays. But yeah, that Bucks offense is just playing out of their mind on both levels. Offensive line's looking great. Baker has time for days. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are winning on their duels. Do you have a consistent run game between Irving, White, and now this Tucker guy? They are looking super, super good. So the only problem is sometimes the defense can give up at times and allow other teams to score. But they also are opportunistic, and this is also a defense that creates turnovers and can get to the quarterback when need to. So it's just a matter of at least what I've seen from Tampa is playing a more complete defensive game, because they can clearly put up the points. They are putting up points like no other. It's just a matter of stopping that other team from really, getting too far ahead. But let's move on to the next game. For me, I want to go over, this was my game of the week leading into this week, and that was the DMV Derby, the DMV Classic, Washington versus Baltimore. So, yeah, Gabe, did you have this game or no?
Yeah. That's another overlap that we have. See, I hate this because we watch the same game. Okay, well, let's get into it. What were your takeaways from the Commanders?
Right. So this was a pretty good, to me, a well-balanced game on both sides. I think what really put Baltimore over the edge was the way they were able to establish the run. Look, Baltimore is a super hard team to stop on the run, because obviously you have one of the most athletic quarterbacks, one of the best rushing quarterbacks ever. But on top of that, he's a guy who can also throw the ball really well and has progressed over his career of being able to be that guy who can make those plays and make those passes, which he did in this game. Versus Washington, Jaden Daniels, while he played a great game, and watching him, the guy just plays with such confidence and such swag, and being able to hit his targets consistently and spread the ball efficiently. The only problem was Washington just could not run the ball. And I think in moments they needed to, even though they were playing catch up at times, being able to establish that run game, you saw how much that benefited the Baltimore Ravens in that aspect because between having to worry about Derrick Henry, who also had a very good game today, just absolutely running through these defenders, you had a guy with is it Zay Flowers? Zay Flowers was just had so much space, and that guy is so fast.
He's fast.
That guy is so fast, and he was lethal in the open space. Whether they're handing it off to him or giving short passes or slants, the guy was just open. And that was one thing I noticed with the Washington secondary is that they were kind of leaving guys open at time, and maybe it was because they were scared to get beat over the top, but it hurt them in the long run. But I will say overall, they did get to Lamar Jackson as best as they can. It just seemed like they just couldn't stop the run at all.
Yeah.
But Terry McLaurin was another guy for Washington. He looked good. He had an incredible catch along the sideline in the touchdown run. I was like, wow, man, that guy, he's an underrated slept on receiver who just hasn't had a proper quarterback for years since he's been in the league. And I'm glad to see him actually have somebody who can actually throw the ball to him now. So I'm curious to see how we get to see the actual heights of what Terry McLaurin can be. So, yeah. What do you think of this game?
I thought it was a fun game. The opening drive, Lamar Jackson throwing an interception is kind of devastating. This wasn't a great Lamar Jackson game, although the team played overall well. I thought it wasn't like a MVP All-Star showing, but he played all right. Eckler finally returning. That was a note that I had. He had some big catches, especially passing. There was a lot of screen passes. Obviously, he's more of a passing running back. I thought, like you said, I thought the Ravens were real effective with the run and the play action. They were like real effective. Derrick Henry had an excellent game, and they mix in both. And then that second half, you saw passing more. I thought they opened up the pass game. Both teams. I thought Washington and the Ravens were opening up the pass game in that second half of the game. Finally seeing Mark Andrews getting big catches because this guy's kind of
finally.
Yeah. I have Likely on my fantasy team, so I'm pulling for my guy Likely, but finally Mark Andrews shows up. He has some big catches, and also Ertz had kind of opened up the game for the Commanders in that second half, and he had some huge catches. Overall, a fun game. Like I don't watch a lot of Commanders games, so I'm pulling for the Ravens. Obviously, if you haven't noticed, I'm pulling for them to be in the Super Bowl. I think they're a top playoff team. But yeah, a fun
Raiders
overall.
guy.
Yeah,
a Ravens guy. You big Ravens guy.
If I have, I can't be rooting for my Dolphins all the time. I gotta find some other teams to.
It's to rough this year. Yeah. Hey, but Tua's coming back. That's some news we didn't talk about. But yeah, that's
supposedly, allegedly. But overall fun game. I think we had both. Yeah, I think we both have a good eye for like good football games that we watch. So, all right.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you. I only had 2 games this week, so because I will say in general, there was a lot of blowouts. So I had a hard time picking some games. And if it wasn't a blowout, I think you had that Tennessee Colts game that was just a snooze fest, even though it was close. And same thing with it was the Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Those were close games, but they were just not entertaining. But yeah, give me your third one.
All right. I can go a couple ways with this. Let me see if I'm trying to think of a game from memory, like a little highlight plays. Because I have notes, but I'm also trying to think from memory. Do I want to talk about the Jags Bears? No, I'm not going to talk about the Jags Bears. Let's talk about 49ers Seahawks. No. Because going into the game, I think this was another game too, going off just because of the playoff implications. I thought, we discussed this game, how, Seahawks were up one game and were top of the leaderboard, and that the 49ers could possibly, if they lost this game, go down 2 games and have the Seahawks would have advantage over the 49ers. There was potential for that. But let's get to the 49ers Seahawks game. Geno Smith, this was like a mixed bag because, there's good Geno Smith and then there's bad Geno Smith, right? He gives up
Geno.
Man, listen, he's not perfect. You know what? I think that's why I like him the most. He's not perfect, man. He's just a guy. He's on his redemption tour. He's not, he has flashes of greatness, but also sometimes, we stumble, we fall.
Wow, greatness.
Yeah, man.
MVP Geno.
Yeah, the Seahawks are weird to me. They're so confusing because they still have Metcalf, they still have Lockett, but somehow their offense I don't know, man. Do I blame Geno for their offensive production? Like they're not producing with those guys at wide receiver. They're not producing as much. I wonder, I have to take a deeper dive into the Seahawks to kind of figure out like what's going on. What's going on in Seattle? But let's talk about the game. Brock Purdy, I thought looked pretty good. Like him scrambling, he did very well.
He played a very good game. Debo
Yeah.
went absolutely nuts in that game. He went insane. The 49ers offense in general just played a very complete game, in my opinion. Every single quarter, they put up multiple games. The Seahawks were essentially non-existent in that first half. And it seems like with the Seahawks, they play really well against poor teams. But then when they go against some of the upper echelon of the NFL, that's when they tend to kind of struggle and have just not come up in those big moments. It seemed like we saw it for the Giants game. While that was kind of a freak thing, you still did let the Giants come back into that game. And this one, you were just too far ahead and you couldn't catch up. And it seems like you said, like Metcalf and Lockett just aren't what they were the past few years. You are getting Kemba Walker back, which is a very good running back, but it seems like they've also just had a hard time establishing the run this past game. But mind you, this 49ers defense that is very, very good at stopping the run. So now you're relying on Geno to sling the rock. And it just seems like this year they just can't necessarily click against, like I said, some of that upper echelon of the NFL.
Yeah. So, I mean, this game was pretty much done at the half. I think it was 16-3 with the 49ers up at the half at one point. There was a return. Chenault was able to give him a return touchdown to kind of give him life. I think it made it 23-10.
I thought that guy disappeared. We Jaguars drafted him in the second round like 3-4 years ago. I can't believe he's on the team still.
So he had a huge 97-yard return. That kind of gave him life, kind of get it close to the game. But that game was pretty much done at the half. There wasn't really a life. I thought Geno Smith was more effective. Eventually when you're down that many points, you go to the shotgun. I thought Geno Smith was effective going to the shotgun. But the game was kind of a runaway. It ended up being what I thought. On paper, I thought that the 49ers are a better team. But I was just interested in watching this game just because I want to see, maybe potentially, being at, we're in week 6, we're, almost halfway through the season. It would have been crazy if the Seahawks would have been, atop the NFC West, right? It would have been the Wild Wild West over there. But 49ers pull it out.
I think the thing too, what's hurting the Seahawks is just their defense too has just not been able to stop anybody. I mean, like I'm looking at the past few years games. 49ers, they gave up 36. New York Giants, they gave up 29, which obviously one of them was taken back. But then you give up the Lions 42, like outside, and then you gave up 20 to the Patriots and 20 to the Broncos. While you won those games, the Broncos and the Patriots offense that we've seen over this past 6 weeks are not very great. The only game where you actually showed up really good was against a super weak Dolphins team where they won 24-3. So it feels like they have to sling the ball more just to catch up and be into games because the defense just isn't stopping anything. Because even watching that Lions game on Monday Night Football, it just felt like they were constantly behind, trying to catch up. And unless the Seahawks can start off strong and start off quick, like we're talking about with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're going to have a hard time winning some of these games. So I'm curious to see how well they continue throughout the rest of the season. They do got a pretty moderately tough schedule that I'm looking like into the future with the Falcons, Bills, Rams, Niners, Cardinals, Jets, Cardinals. So you got some winnable games in there for sure, but it's going to be an uphill battle for them. I can they're probably going to win some and then lose some, win some and then lose some. At least it's what I see going forward for the Seahawks.
Yeah. All right. Do you have another game, or that was the only two that you had to highlight?
That was the only two I had. Let's move over to our player spotlights. For me, I'm going with who I was talking about yesterday. The guy who no one knew about last week and made a name for himself on Sunday, and that is Sean Tucker. Man, this guy was an absolute monster. Like I said, he showed so much capability. I'm curious to see if he can live up to that week in and week out and hopefully get some more reps, because this guy showed speed, quickness, and shiftiness and size. Granted, this is the New Orleans team that wasn't necessarily the best team, but it's a solid team. I want to see him continue. He had 14 carries, 336 yards, 1 touchdown. He averaged 9.7 yards a carry, and then he had 3 receptions, 56 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. So the guy was an absolute monster. If you haven't done so already, maybe pick up this guy on the waiver wire and wait for a good matchup and see if he'll get some more carries. I wouldn't start him immediately because, I know you want to see what happens. You don't want to go based off one game, but it's something that's like, hey, if you see this after a couple weeks, I'm like, all right, it's time to start this man. But yeah, who is your player of the week, Gabe?
I'm going to go with another running back. I'm going to go with Derrick Henry, man. I thought in this game, man, I'm going with my Ravens. Man. Listen, I thought that, this was a game. Lamar Jackson didn't have a great game. We know he has legs. He can use his legs. But when you have a back like Derrick Henry, you don't have to. I think he had 24 carries, 130-something yards, 2 touchdowns. Just good. Just like not overly, he's not, playing out of his mind. But, it looks like Derrick Henry hasn't lost a step in that whatever that people thought that he was going to have a regression, with his body taking so much punishment. Like the guy looks good. Like he looks like he fits well in that system.
I don't know. I don't know if he freezes his body in the off season or something, and he just they defrost him come late July. But like this guy still is just a unit out there. Like that can't be touched.
Tank, man. He's a tank.
But how about you give me your team highlight of the week? Which team you want to cover that maybe you didn't talk about in today's game and the games that you wanted to highlight?
I want to talk so bad about Dallas. I know it was a blowout, but I want to talk about them so bad.
Hey, we can we call it team highlight, but we could call it like team roasting, like 1 and 2.
But I want to talk about the Bills game last night. I want to talk about Monday Night Football. Bills Jets.
Okay.
Because obviously consequential.
So who's your team? What's the team highlight? The Bills?
No, I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets.
The Jets, the New York Jets. All right.
Yeah, because it's just most fresh in mind. A lot of these games I have to remember. I'm like, man, I look at it here. But because it's so fresh in mind, I thought overall the Jets offensively looked okay. Breece Hall had a really good game. If I had to pick another player to pick a highlight on, Breece Hall had excellent game. The Bills were able to put a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers. But the game last night was penalty crazy. A lot of holding, a lot of passing interference, a lot of penalties last game, which is crazy because we hadn't even talked about. I don't know what your feelings on Robert Saleh getting fired. I knew eventually there was a lot of turmoil with Robert Saleh. Being, he was, on the hot seat, but I would never expect that he would get fired middle of the season. I don't know, Julian, how do you feel about firing coaches? So you're on mute.
I will say it seems a little early, personally. He was somebody I did have on the hot seat, somebody who dives into the Jets a little bit more probably, but at least from me on the outside looking in, he was in the process of building something. Yes, they were a part of the whole Zach Wilson thing and that not really developing into anything special. It didn't seem like they really had a backup plan for Aaron Rodgers last year, but sometimes shit like that just happens. But obviously the start of this season has been pretty rough. They're 2-4 right now. You've lost to some pretty bad teams, but it does still feel a little early to make these changes and then also go for a trade. Like I said, for Devontae Adams, you think they would have waited till Robert Saleh, but he also kind of built a pretty solid defense and they drafted pretty well with them. And he's done a good job of executing that defense because when I look at the New York Jets, they do pretty damn well on like they are a scary team to face and they're very young too on top of that. So I will say I'm a little surprised as an outsider looking in just to be this early in the season. You think they would wait, but I guess they feel that the interim can take his spot and perform even better. And maybe it was tension between Aaron Rodgers and him that could have caused this to boil over, which let's be real. I mean, if you have somebody like Aaron Rodgers on your team and you're the team like the New York Jets, who historically is not very good and never really has a true elite quarterback, and now you finally have one, you want to try to make him happy as much as possible. And if he felt like he wasn't the answer, then you got to move on and go forward. But like I said, we'll see how it plays out. I'm curious to see if maybe we see a decline in the defense, because obviously one thing you can't take away from Robert Saleh is that man can't, everywhere he's gone, he's had a pretty damn good defense. So if they can keep that consistency with him being out, we'll see how far they go forward, because I will say adding, like you said, Breece Hall having a great game. You know, you have Garrett Wilson on the side. If you can bring Davante Adams on the other, this is like going to be a pretty damn complete team for the most part. So, and maybe that's why the way they looked at it is they felt like with this team and this roster that they should be performing better with where they're at. So, yeah, I mean, time will tell if it was the right decision. I just personally think it's a little early in the season.
Yeah.
Obviously, losing to your divisional rival doesn't help. You know, you lost to the real New York team.
The one that's been in the playoffs more recently. But yeah, I thought it was odd. Like I figured he would get fired, but you think like this is like a week 10, a week 12 kind of thing. You don't figure like he was only to get 5 games and that's it. 5 games was enough for you to see. Then why even bring him on if it was 5 games? I think to me this is a signal. You said maybe if it is Aaron Rodgers, I think it's actually Aaron Rodgers. The fact that he gets, the head coach gets fired on 1 week, which by the way, the intern coach is their defensive coordinator. Is the interim coach right now. I think Olbrich is the guy.
Yeah. Dude, I'm looking at the game last night. I mean, Allen Lazard, 6 receptions, 114 yards. Garrett Wilson, 8 receptions, 107 yards. Breece Hall, 5 receptions, 56. But then he also ran for 18 carries, 113. So, I mean, like, they were super efficient last night. It was just, not being able to complete the game.
They weren't able to convert a lot. Now, also, I want to talk about the windy conditions, because the field goaling on both sides was absolutely atrocious. Bass missed a couple. I think the Jets kicker missed a couple. Like I said, it was a lot of penalties. In the game. It was
a rough game.
Yeah, it was almost 200.
The Hail Mary.
Yeah,
the Hail Mary.
And
crazy fucking game.
The end of the game, Mike Williams. I don't know about that last play. I got to review that last play. But to me, it looked like Aaron Rodgers underthrew Mike Williams on that last play when they were trying to drive down. I don't know if Mike Williams just made a move that Aaron Rodgers didn't expect, because Aaron Rodgers looked pretty mad.
Miscommunication.
There's a miscommunication where Aaron Rodgers was throwing where he should have gone. I don't know, but to me, I was like, "Yo, Aaron Rodgers, that's you, man. You look like he fucking underthrew that guy. You got to throw that guy in stride." Like Mike Williams is not a fast guy. He's not a Tyreek Hill out there. So
he's the one-on-one guy.
The fact that you underthrew him, you don't have you don't got the stuff. You don't have your fastball, or B, there's just like miscommunication where Mike Williams went where Aaron Rodgers didn't want him to go. And there's flashes too. There's things with Aaron Rodgers where there's flashes like when he's throwing deep the ball, 10, 15, 20 yards. And I think they got a touchdown right before the half, a crazy touchdown into the end zone where they just lobbed it up. And the ball looked like it fell out, but he was actually a catch, I think, to Lazard. That Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, oh, that's the Aaron Rodgers I know. Like that guy, that's the Aaron Rodgers that everybody's been waiting for. But when I see him, throw these short passes, kind of these screen passes, or where he has to improvise and throw it to the tight end on these short things, I'm like, this is not interesting to me. Where when Aaron Rodgers is throwing quick, a lot of bubble screens and stuff, I'm like, that's not his game. Like, usually this is a big guy that can air it out. He can do that. You can do midfield, but I think you have enough talent there that you don't have to do the short game. Maybe there's something I'm seeing.
You don't. I mean, like you said, you look at this Jets team and now getting Davante Adams, like, what do they miss? That wide receiver room is stacked, first off. And it's just like, you got to start winning games, because, like I said, I think losing to the Niners, Vikings, and Bills is a respectable loss. But losing to the Broncos 10-9, granted, it was a disgusting game, disgusting weather. But, win that game. I don't know. But I will say going forward, they have a relatively favorable schedule. They have the Steelers, then the Patriots, Texans, Cardinals, Colts, Seahawks, Dolphins, Jags, Rams, Bills, Dolphins. So not the hardest, not the easiest, but I think all those games are winnable games except for maybe the Texans game. They might struggle there. But even so, with the talent that's on this team, they could realistically win all these games. Will they? I don't know. We'll see, But time will tell. I will say for my team highlight, I'm gonna go with the Detroit Lions, man.
Wow.
Detroit, they're right up there with Minnesota with me. I probably have them a little bit above Minnesota. They just play such complete ball, such clean ball. Jared Goff protects the ball. He game manages super well. He's been incredibly efficient and been spreading the ball to different targets. They have so many weapons with DeAndre Swift, Gibbs, Amon St. Rock. Amon
St. Rock.
St. Brown. Whatever. You know what I'm saying. St. Brown. Jameson Williams. This team is so good. And then obviously the offensive line to me is one of the best offensive lines in the league. Penei Sewell is one of the best left tackles in the league. I loved him in college coming out of Oregon. He was going to be a surefire star. And then defensively, they get it done, man. They are consistently getting turnovers. They consistently get pressure. Now things might change now that Hutchinson is gone, it really sucks to see because he had 7.5 sacks. The next person below had 2.5. Obviously, things are going to change a little bit now that he's gone. You're not going to help support him and put him in positions to get around the edge and get to the quarterback. But they're going to see a little bit of a dip there. But I do think in general, they're still going to be able to get to the quarterback and do enough and be able to win games. Especially, I think the most that the Detroit Lions have to worry about is, keeping teams getting no more than 20, because I believe in this offense. They are one of the best offenses in the league, which I would have never thought. Like, honestly, the moment when they traded or they moved Jared Goff to Detroit, I thought like, okay, Jared Goff's going to be a gap quarterback and then they're going to draft somebody. But like this man, Jared Goff, earned himself an extension and is continuing to play well. And it just proves that system is everything. And he just found one that absolutely fit him. They drafted really well because a lot of these guys were sleeper. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown was a 3rd round, 4th round pick or something like that. So this is a team, to me, they're easily a top 5 team. I think this is a team you don't want to face. This is a scary team, which in my entire lifetime, I've never said that about the Detroit Lions. They had like 1 year, and I believe in 2011 or 12, where you had prime Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson that made it to the playoffs, where you're like, okay, this could be a team. But outside of that, it's just been mediocrity. And now with the most unlikely hero, Dan Campbell, has absolutely turned this franchise and this culture around. I tell you, I give so much credit to Dan Campbell, the way he's been able to help build that team and working with the Ford family and everything, because it's great. The guy who went in there and people were memeing on, talking about biting.
I laughed at him.
Everybody thought he was going to be a joke. He was going to be in and out in a year, but God willing, this guy is actually becoming one of the best coaches in the league. And he's just a guy that the players want to fight for. So incredible team. I do want to throw out some stats for their offense, man. They're averaging 30.2 points per game, which is insane. They're averaging 432 yards per game. And then they're averaging 157 rushing yards per game. So land and air, they are absolutely dominating on all levels. They're my team of the week, man. They're my team of the week, and they absolutely obliterated the Dallas Cowboys, and it wasn't even a close game. And this is a Dallas Cowboys that was a 3-2 team. This wasn't some sleeper team. Granted, I'm not super high on the Cowboys, but like, damn. Yeah, 40. Well, I want to say it was 44 or 42. It was in the 40s. I can't remember the exact score line, but absolutely insane. Shout out to the Detroit Lions. Shout out to the Detroit Lion fans. You guys deserve it after the
many years
of irrelevance. Many years of irrelevance and mediocrity and struggle and wanting to sell the team and everything. But yeah, man. What do you think of this Detroit team?
The Detroit team is fun, man. I think they're a top team, obviously a playoff team. Like I said, I was one of these guys laughing at Dan Campbell. I was like, you can't come in here and say, we're going to outman you. We're going to outstrength you. You push 10, I push 20. You run 50, I run 80. Or so, the kind of this, like, I'm just going to outman you kind of thing. But I think as far as I think the players are bought in. Like I think he's a players coach. Obviously, he was a player, and people buy into him, and he at least I can say the guy's authentically, he gives a damn about his team and he gives a damn about winning. He gives a damn about football.
He cares.
And I can't, he cares about football. He cares about winning. So I can't make fun of him for that. Maybe the presentation of like, we're going to eat your kneecap shit. Okay, I can laugh at that shit. But, he's getting results. What can I say? Listen. What was that?
I was going to say the score was 47-9.
Yeah. Kind of a blowout. And I expect them to, barring any injury, I expect them, to go deep in the playoffs. They're going to be a playoff team, man. They are fun to watch. They're fun to
I forgot about Montgomery. I think I said Swift on accident, but I meant to say Montgomery. Did I say? Yeah, because Swift plays for my bad.
Bears.
I meant to say Montgomery. Don't get me in the comments. Watch the end of the video.
Yeah. Well, I said it wrong, but Swift used to play there, but he doesn't play no more.
There, but I was thinking Montgomery. Either way.
Listen, I said Tyler Rattler, okay? It's not a big thing.
Jameer Gibbs, he's also been a pleasant surprise over there. But yeah, man. We'll see how far they go. I'm really curious. Let me look at their schedule going forward because I do want to see who they have and what their schedule looks like. So they have the Vikings, which is going to be a very good game next week. Tennessee Titans, Green Bay Packers, Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts, Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, Buffalo Bills, Bears, Niners, Vikings. So it's going to be you got some games in there, but then you got some easy games, I would say, for them. But then you got some pretty difficult ones. I will say you still got to play the Bears twice. You got to play the Vikings twice. That's not going to be an easy ask. So obviously you got the Bills and Niners in there and Houston. So you got some games, but with the way this team is playing, they should be able to win those games. But yeah. Let's move. Speaking of future games, let's go into next week. I want to switch it up a little bit, Gabe. I say we still pick our 3 top games and we kind of break them down and give a quick explanation. But then all the other games, we'll just do a lightning run through of who we got. And then, we'll end it there. So how about you give me your first game that you're looking forward to this week?
I think we already mentioned it. We ended up talking with Detroit. Let's talk about Detroit at Vikings. Obviously, the North looks more competitive than I would have thought. At the beginning of the season, maybe this is a division I wouldn't care about. But there's division implications on this game, and these are 2 good teams. The Vikings, a team I wouldn't have thought beginning of the year would be playing well. Detroit Lions are rolling right now, so this should be a fun, must-watch TV right here. Detroit Lions Vikings. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, that was one of mine. Huge game, big divisional matchup. The 2 best teams in the league. I would say the 2 hottest teams in the league. Let's say in Minnesota that's undefeated, a Detroit team with 1 loss. Right now, the odds are -2.5 to Minnesota because they're at home. So they're pretty much getting that home favorite. Man,
what you got? What do you get? What's your other game?
Who I got?
I think we think alike, man. I think we think so much alike. I gotta pick
I'm giving a prediction real quick. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with the Vikings here, man. I like the Vikings at home. They seem to play at their best at home. It's going to be a shootout, though, for sure. This is going to be a really fun, entertaining match. I'd be shocked if this game, the over-under is 49.5. If this game doesn't hit 50, that is a disappointment. I'm smashing the over on that 49.5.
Really?
100%. But, yeah, I think both teams, it's going to be like a 27-24 type game. It's going to be a really fun one. But I think Vikings, because they're at home and the way they've looked at home, they're going to get this victory. Who do you got?
I would love for it to be over. 49.5, put the over. I would love for a game to be a shootout. But I think the Vikings defense is just better. I like slightly better than the Lions, better than the Lions. Definitely better than the Lions defense. Definitely better than the Lions defense, but I think the Vikings defense will outperform the Lions offense. I think this is going to be a tighter game. But I'm still going to go with the Vikings winning it just over their defense. Like this is the defensive team. I'm trying to think of maybe the Lions have a better run game, but I think of the Lions as a pass team first, whether they're passing out the backfield.
So you don't. So you have the Vikings, but not at 2.5.
No.
Okay, I got Vikings by a field goal, so I got them. I got them there. All right. As for my game, let's see if we link up here. I got Baltimore at Tampa. I think this is going to be a really fun matchup. We got two pretty high-powered offenses. Baltimore's defense seems to be a little bit more consistent, but you're playing at Tampa Bay, and Tampa's defense can be opportunistic. And like we said earlier in this past week, Lamar Jackson can create some turnovers, or give up some turnovers. So I think it's going to be a fun one. Let me pull up the odds right here. The odds for this game is plus 3.5, and Baltimore Ravens minus 3.5. So they have Baltimore as a away favorite, which I don't know. I understand, but I'm going with the Bucks here with a -3, with a plus 3.5. And it looks like a lot of people are hitting that because it's minus 105. So yeah, man, I'm going Bucks plus 3.5 on this one. I think they win this game, and the over under is 48.5, and I think it's going to go over personally.
You got the Bucks winning the Baltimore on the road. I'll take Baltimore.
No, Bucks are winning at home.
Bucks winning
at Tampa.
I'll take Baltimore on the road. Baltimore on the road. That's my team, man. That's my team. All right. If I had to pick another game to watch, let's get a Super Bowl rematch: Kansas City, San Francisco. Even though it's technically not a Super Bowl rematch, even though it's technically not. I mean, they don't have the exact same personnel, but you know what I'm talking about. It's just fun to kind of, do nostalgia. Who's winning over who? Kansas City going on the road at San Francisco. That's the 3:00 game. So, or a 4:00 game for you on the East Coast.
East Central Time.
Yeah, I'm Central Time. Yeah, I just want to see it. Obviously, 49ers coming off a win, going back on top of their division. Kansas City, somehow they've won games. Somehow they keep winning. I don't know how. It doesn't seem like they should be winning, but they are.
I was gonna say, do you think Kansas City's like the worst 5-0 team?
I mean, I got to go through history. They're stumbling into these wins. I don't know how.
Yeah. It's just they got blessed by the football gods at some point, and they're just like getting these victories. I mean, granted, they're a talented team. For me on this one, I didn't pick this one because I think this might be a pretty boring game, honestly, because none of these Kansas City games have been super entertaining to watch. Kansas City's kind of suffered from the same thing Buffalo has, where it just feels like there's just no one to throw to. But yet, like you said, they're still 5-0, and it's like, what? No one's really talking about them. It feels like on the media side. So it's like, it's crazy to think that, man, they're still 5-0. This is a Niners team. They're at home. I will say, I think because the Niners are a little bit more of a complete team, you're playing at home. I'm going with the Niners here. It's -1.5 for the 49ers and +1.5 for the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of people are hitting that San Francisco -1.5, and I tend to agree with them. I mean, if they're pretty much giving the home field advantage, and I think that is the case. I think they're going to do that. Brock Purdy's playing really well. Debo's finally had his big game. So I think they're just a more complete team right now. So I'm going San Francisco on this.
I'll put the Kansas City to sleep. I think 49ers, yeah, they're on the roll. They're on the win streak. They have to lose eventually, right? They can't just have a perfect season. You don't think they're going to have a perfect season. I'm looking at the Kansas City.
If they get a perfect season, it's going to be one of the most like wildest, fluky perfect seasons ever.
But yeah, give me 49ers at home. Like I said, this is just some fun to watch that I'm interested in. So,
all right, yeah, man. So my final like big game I want to go over is the Houston Texans at the Green Bay Packers. I think this is going to be a pretty fun game to watch. I think it's going to be entertaining. I've been loving what Jordan Love's doing. Jordan Love, for the most part, is playing well, but then he has these moments where he just tends to turn over the ball and just maybe not show up in certain quarters and certain halves. But for the most part, the dude's been lighting it up for me on my fantasy team. He's been playing pretty well. He's definitely fitting into that Green Bay, Brett Favre kind of where the dude's just willing to sling it anywhere. And if it gets picked off, it gets picked off. But nonetheless, this is going to be a really fun game. It's going to be a high-scoring game, I think, in my opinion. I think Houston actually might get upset here. They have Green Bay as the favorites, which I'm a little surprised personally because Houston has been pretty damn good all season long. So I figured they would have made them the road favorite. But I like Green Bay here. I think Green Bay is going to win. Houston's defense at times can be pretty leaky, and Green Bay at the end of the games can really light it up. So can Houston hold off for as long as they can? We'll see. Houston almost gave up that game against the Jags, but due to the Jags just being terrible and not executing on certain things, they've ended up winning that game. So I think it's going to be a really interesting one. You're going to see some turnovers. You're going to see some high-flying action ball. But yeah, I got Green Bay here at Lambeau.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Houston, man. I haven't watched a ton of Green Bay games. I just like Houston. That's it. I'm just going with my gut. Houston.
All right. Those are the picks that we are games to watch. Now let's just run through the rest of these super quick. And all right, Gabe, we got Denver Broncos at the New Orleans Saints. Denver is -2.5. New Orleans Saints +2.5. Denver is the road favorite here. Who do you got?
Oh man, I like the Saints so much. They have a big loss. I'm gonna go with the Saints, man. Let's go with the Saints, man. I think they're gonna light it up.
I'm going Broncos. I think Bo Nix is slowly but surely getting better and getting into the rhythm of things. It seems like Denver is starting to kind of cook. They looked decent at times against the Los Angeles Chargers. We don't know what Spencer Rattler's going to be. I got Denver here. I think Denver wins this game with a field goal. All right. Yeah. Now we got the London game. Mind you, that's the Thursday night game. Now we have the London game. New England Patriots at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville is -5.5. New England is +5.5. The odds are exactly the same at -110. Gabe, who do you got here?
I'm going to go with the home team, Jacksonville, London Jaguars. There's nothing I like about the Patriots. Team stinks. I mean, don't be surprised. I mean, if they put up a challenge, but I think
Drake May.
Listen, they're saying Drake May is coming up. That he may be pretty good, but listen,
he had a couple good drives.
I like the offense of the Jaguars more. I think they're better.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. While the Jacksonville Jaguars have been a dumpster fire this season, and it's getting really bad, they're now 1-5. At the end of the day, they are an infinitely more talented team than the New England Patriots. And Gerard Mayo came out saying, he's like, look, guys, this is just year one of the rebuild. And you know what? I appreciate the honesty that he said with that, because he's like, look, man, give it time. We're not going to I'm going to be realistic. We're not going to compete this year. We're figuring things out, and we're going to move forward next year. It kind of proves to the fact that maybe Bill Belichick wasn't the best GM and kind of left the team in a really bad spot. But like you said, Jacksonville's already been in London. They spent because they paid Houston this past week, not Houston, Chicago this past week. They're going to be adjusted to the time and everything like that, already set up and ready to go. And at the end of the day, this Jacksonville team offensively is still they should be better than where they are. They are on paper a good 1-5 team. They just, between coaching and lack of effort and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm going Jacksonville, though. I think Jacksonville win by a touchdown. All right,
man.
Let's go. Let's go. Buffalo, Tennessee Titans at the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo -8.5. Tennessee +8.5. I'm going to say it real quick. Buffalo wins this game by 10 points. They're too good, especially at home. You got Mari Cooper coming in. Yeah, man. Buffalo.
I say the same thing. Buffalo.
All right, we're going to skip Houston and Green Bay because we covered that. We got the Miami Dolphins at the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis is -3.5. Miami Dolphins +3.5. I think it doesn't matter if Tua's there or not.
No, he's not coming back.
I don't think he's not going to be there yet, but I know there's inkling rumors about that. But I'm going Indianapolis here. They're a team that continues to be pretty competitive, winning games. So I'm going to Indianapolis here at home to beat the Miami Dolphins.
And to clarify, said he's not coming to play this week, but the coach intimated that he will play sometime this year. So all this retirement stuff, he's not going to retire. He's going to come back at some point this season. I don't know when, but at some point he will play again for the Dolphins this season. Give me the Colts. It's looking bad for the Dolphins. Maybe they.
And I don't know if I said it, but it is -3.5 Colts +3 Dolphins. Or not 3.5, -3 Colts +3 Dolphins. All right, we got the Seattle Seahawks at the Atlanta Falcons. I think this is also going to be a pretty sneaky good game. We have the Atlanta Falcons at -3.5, Seattle Seahawks +3. I keep on saying 3.5. Atlanta Falcons -3, Seattle Seahawks +3. I got the Falcons here at home. I feel like Kirk Cousins, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Algier, these guys. Bijan Robinson needs to. I feel like he's disappeared this season. Dude needs to come back. But I like this Atlanta team. I think they're good. I think they're playing super well, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And Seattle not really able to do too good on the defensive side. So I like Atlanta here at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Atlanta as well. Atlanta on the over.
All right. We already covered Detroit at Minnesota Vikings. So let's go to the NFC North matchup. Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns are plus 6.5. Cincinnati Bengals are minus 6.5 as the road favorites. I'm going with the Bengals here, man. The Bengals need to get a win desperately if they want to make it into this playoff race. They've just had a very rough start to the season, losing close games. Cincinnati needs this. They need to just dominate Cleveland right here. So the Ohio matchup, the Ohio rivalry, I got Cincinnati here. I think they're going to win by 10. Cleveland is bad, really bad. Kevin Stefanski, he's got to, if anything, I'm surprised he hasn't been fired yet. But yeah.
Give me Cincinnati. They got to win this game. Must win.
All right. Next game, NFC East, Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants. We got the New York Giants +3, Philadelphia Eagles -3. This is an interesting one for me. So the Eagles are a road favorite. Oh, man. Which Daniel Jones are you going to get?
What a doodle ball.
And, man, what a fall from grace from the Eagles. Like, I mean, for the most part, they're running back the same team, and they still just – not the same team, but, you know, there's starting to be some questions over there, but I still think the Eagles are good enough to beat New York here. I think I got the Eagles at the -3. I think Eagles can win by a touchdown or 6 points, 5 points, somewhere around there. It's going to be a pretty close game, but I got the Eagles here.
I hope the Eagles win. That's it.
You hope?
I hope they win because this is a boo-boo bowl.
All right. Now, next game, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Rams. It's at the Los Angeles Rams, but let's not get it twisted. If there's any place that's a true home fan base for the Raiders, it is Los Angeles. It's a team that should have went to LA, not the Chargers. The Raiders should have been in LA. So you know for a fact SoFi Stadium is going to be rocking that black and silver 100%. This is going to be a home game for them. But it's not going to matter because the Rams are so much of a better team than the Raiders. The Raiders are just not good. They're cleaning house. They're trying to figure things out. The Los Angeles Rams are -7. Las Vegas is +7. I'm going to go with the under here because something's telling me that because of the large fan base that's going to be there in LA, it's going to kind of play a factor. So I think the Rams still win, but I could see maybe a 5-point, 6-point victory because I'm also not super high on Los Angeles, but they're for sure the better team in this. I just don't know if I would bet on them to get the 7 spread. If anything, I can see it being a wash and hitting 7 exactly. So, but I'm going to play it safe and go. I'm going to go that they don't cover.
I'll go with the Rams. I'll just give me the Rams.
You think they get over 7?
Better team.
All right. We both got Rams. I just don't think he goes over. All right. Carolina Panthers at the Washington Commanders. Washington is -7.5. Carolina Panthers +7.5. I got the Commanders here. Carolina is just a dumpster fire. Commanders, on the other hand, are just Jaden Daniels has that offense cooking. They are putting up so many points. So I got Commanders winning by 14 here.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a blowout.
Yeah, I saw the points of 7.5. Give me Washington. Washington over.
All right. We already did San Francisco, Kansas City. All right. We got the New York Jets at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is going to be a pretty damn good game right here. Sunday Night Football. We have Pittsburgh +1.5, New York -1.5. I think this is a little disrespectful to Pittsburgh, Steelers
really?
Nation. I will say this is a Pittsburgh team that's playing pretty damn good. They're lead. Are they in the? Yeah, they are in the lead for the AFC North. Justin Fields has reinvented his career. I think he's playing really good football over there. They're running the ball well. George Pickens, Najee Harris, Freiermuth, they're playing well. They're playing good football. TJ Watt is still just a monster over there. I like this Steelers team. I think Justin Fields it's exactly what the team needed. They needed a guy who could really sling the rock since Big Ben left. So I got Pittsburgh here. I'm surprised they even have New York as the favorite. Unless I'm missing something. Am I missing like an injury or something? Like,
man, listen, I think I was thinking like, Pittsburgh at home. I'm looking at the weather. I'm like, it's just going to be a cool day. It's going to be like 70 degrees. I mean, that's kind of New York, Pittsburgh weather. I mean, they both can. I'm gonna split with you, man. I'm gonna go with the Jets, man. The Jets have to bounce back. Acquiring, hopefully, if this is finalized, acquiring Devontae Adams got to be a big help. I don't know. I wonder if he plays. How many plays he gets if he plays this game? Got to play.
I'm trying to see if they got any. If I'm missing anything with this, like why it's so.
Yeah.
I mean, the center's out. Yeah, I don't know.
I go with the Jets bounce back. Jets win the game.
All right, Jets bounce back. All right, let's go to Monday night games. All right, we already covered Baltimore and Tampa, so the final game we're going to talk about here is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona is the home dog at +2.5. Chargers are -2.5 as the road favorites. This is an interesting one for me because I think while Arizona is not the best team, they're still a team that you cannot look past. Kyler Murray seems to be playing pretty damn good this season. You are missing a Marvin Harrison Jr. to concussion protocols. So most likely he's not going to play, at least as of where I would guess, because usually you're out for at least a week when it comes to concussions. So I like the Chargers here, man. I think the Chargers are playing pretty damn good football. Jim Harbaugh's got that team playing pretty well. So, and the odds are -120 on that. So I'm going to go, I'm going to go Chargers on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Chargers as well. They have listed today Joey Bosa as questionable, but like you said, we got to see if they practice. If they're able to practice, coming into Thursday, Friday, then most likely they'll play. But we'll see. Obviously, we won't find out until Sunday until they actually strap it up. But I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
That is it, man. That is our Week 6 recap and reactions, as well as our predictions going into Week 7. I want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast. And if you made it to the end of the show, please be sure to give it a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You guys know what to do. If you're on YouTube, you already know how it works. And if you're listening to all the audio platforms, I do want to mention that please, we had an issue trying to upload it to Spotify. So if you guys want to see some of our previous episodes and clips, go check out the YouTube channel. For some reason, I had an issue uploading it and Spotify was acting up and whatnot. So if you made it to the end, if you want to see some more content that you missed from the previous weeks, go check it out on YouTube. And Gabe, any final thoughts?
No, that's it, man. Hopefully we'll be here next week. We haven't talked, very NFL centric, but hopefully we can get some other people on here. We'll talk about some other sports. This is huge, man. Hockey's starting. We haven't talked any playoff baseball. Basketball's about to start up. So this is like my favorite time of the year. It's just a amalgamation of so many sports. So yeah, I know we're NFL centric here, but hopefully we can get to some other sports as well.
Yeah, guys. All right. Well, like I said, once again, thanks for you guys listening, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.